YouTube? Welcome back to my channel, or this is the first video that you're seeing, then welcome to my channel. And as you can tell from the title of this video, I am finally filming my Mortal Instruments City of Lost Souls book review. And it's crazy to me. I can't believe we're already on the 5th book. I started reading these books at the beginning of June, and it's already the middle of August. And the fact that I've read 5 books so quickly, or what's fast to me anyway, like, I'm so proud of myself. But honestly, I've enjoyed these books so much that it hasn't felt like a task or something that's hard to do. I literally feel like it's gone by in the blink of an eye, and I am so excited to read the final book because it's about to go down, and you guys are going to find out exactly what I'm talking about in just a bit. But I do want to take the moment to give myself a shout out because I'm filming this video. You're watching this video on Wednesday, but I'm actually filming it Tuesday night because as you're watching this video, it is actually my birthday today. That's right, your girl turned 23 years old, so happy birthday to me. But yeah, that's why I'm filming the video the night before, because I do have plans on Wednesday when you're watching this video, and I didn't want to film it on a Wednesday when I had so much other stuff to do, because I didn't want to rush the video, because this video I have so much that I want to talk about and I don't want to rush any of it because there's so much stuff to go over. So much so to the point that if I don't start filming the actual video right now, I will be here all night. So yeah, that's it for this long intro, and without further ado, let's get into it. So there's not a lot of characters that were introduced in this book, but I do want to go over one specific character, and that is Jonathan Morgenstern. So this is really kind of difficult to explain, but pretty much we all know that, as you would tell from the last book, Clary's brother, original brother Jonathan, possessed Sebastian Verlac, and he portrayed him. But once Lila's blood was used to bring Jonathan back to life, she brought him back to life in his true form. So in this book, we're not watching Jonathan as Sebastian, we're watching Jonathan as Jonathan. So, and there are he's a lot different than he was when he was Sebastian. And adding to that, we got to find out a lot more about him. So that's why I'm giving him his own character introduction, because it does feel like a completely different character, and I was really excited to read about him and everything pertaining to him in this book. So yes. So if we move on, obviously at the end of the last book, the very last couple pages that we read, Jace had been possessed by Lila's blood, and he ended up bringing Sebastian back to life. And then it literally stopped there. That is where the book stopped. So going into this book, it obviously starts right from that point when everybody goes back on the roof to retrieve Jace, and Sebastian's body have vanished. So they're nowhere to be seen, and there's no particular time lapse that's stated in this book, but I like to think it's like a few weeks into the future. So pretty much everybody's just spent the last couple weeks looking for Jace. Difference of opinions, like some of the Clays, they feel like, they're trying to find Jace, and, they don't want to hurt him, but there's other people that are like, they're still on the whole Jace was raised by Valentine train, so they don't really know what to expect from him, and they're just, so when everybody's looking for Jace and Sebastian, there's a difference of opinion about what to do with Jace once they find him, because everybody is so convinced that Jace is working for Sebastian. After a while, everybody does not give up on the search for Jace and Sebastian, but they decided to no longer make him a priority. They decided to no longer make finding Jace and Sebastian a priority, which I can kind of understand with everything that's gone on recently and everything that's still happening now. They're preparing for Sebastian's next move. They don't really know what to expect from Jace, and so they don't really have a lot of time to spend looking for him, because everybody's pretty much come to the understanding that the reason they can't find Jace is because he doesn't want to be found. And at that point, there's really nothing you can do. Like, after you've looked everywhere and you've exhausted all of your resources trying to find someone, if you still can't find them, you eventually do have to move on. So I do completely agree with them. I don't really, obviously a lot of this is based off of them still having prejudice towards Jace from him being raised by Sebastian, but I do get it in the sense that, there's a lot of other stuff going on in the shadow world, and there's other stuff that they need to deal with beyond searching for Jace. So that's just my opinion. I understand where they're coming from. I feel like they could have gone about it a little bit differently, but I do get it. Don't come for me in the comments. So we did talk about, in the book, they did talk about this strange connection between Jace and Sebastian. In those last couple of pages that we read, they were talking about the strange connection between Jace and Sebastian, and obviously in this book we got to read about a lot more of that. So it pretty much starts off, Clary, the Clay's given up on looking for Jace. Clary hasn't. She goes to the Silly Queen. She makes a deal with her. And the deal is pretty much the Queen will help her look for Jace if she steals from the Clave. And so in the process of doing that, Jace and Sebastian actually come into the Institute. And Clary hides from them, but she notices that they're acting really chummy. Is the word I'm pretty sure I'm looking for. But they're acting really friendly towards one another. There's, you would never know that Sebastian is the guy who killed Jace's little brother and tried to kill Clary and killed him and all this other stuff that happened. It's just like they're best friends, and Clary's obviously really confused by this. And as readers, we're really confused by this as well. It comes to be known throughout the story that when Lilith did what she did to Jace, she did actually put a rune on him that combines his and Jonathan's soul. So I'm not calling him Sebastian from this point on. We're going to be calling him Jonathan. So the rune combines Jonathan and Jace's soul. One feels the other one's pain. If you kill one, you kill the other. They share emotions, they share feelings, they share beliefs. So pretty much everything that Jonathan believes in, Jace does as well. So it's not that he doesn't, it's not like he has forgotten that Jonathan killed his brother or tried to kill Alec and Izzy and he's done all this stuff. It's not like he doesn't remember that. It's just because Jonathan believes that he did all of those things for a reason. He did all those things for a greater good. Jace now believes that as well because of the rune. So it's kind of it's interesting to read this book and understand it from Jace's point of view and to see how, him having this rune and being tied to someone so evil and such a unique character. It was interesting for me to read about how this rune changed him mostly, and I think we can all agree, mostly bad ways, but there was a bunch of unique stuff going on as well. Clary noticed that Jace seemed very happy and very peaceful, and I can kind of understand that because, he grew up in the Clave and he was raised in this sort of military, school. He was raised to be a shadow hunter, and everything's very strict and straightforward and to the point. And so there's not a lot of freedom to, do what you want, believe what you believe, and do all this stuff. But with him being with Jonathan, there is a lot of freedom in the sense that he doesn't answer to anyone. There aren't rules that he has to follow. And because of that, there's sort of the rune has given him this freedom to know, I don't work for anyone. The things that he's still Jace. It's not like he's possessed by Jonathan or he's turned into someone else. It's just the rune has caused him to believe what Jonathan believes, but he's still Jace. He's just Jace, not under the control of the Clave. So that makes him a completely different character to me. And overall, I love reading about him in this story, and I love the little moments between him and Sebastian and him and Clary. If you take out all of the evil elements, I think it was really great to see him be pretty much just a normal teenager, not having to answer to someone. Because I feel when you're a shadow hunter, you're not really a normal person. You don't get to, just have fun and be free and do all this stuff. You don't get to do all that. So being, not under the role of the Clave, there's a lot of freedom that comes with him being him, and I love that. I also want to go ahead and talk about this weird brother-sister relationship between Clary and Jonathan. So Clary does end up with Jace and Jonathan. Pretty much how she does is because she has convinced herself that she can still save Jace. In order to do that, she has to go with him and convince him and Jonathan that she's on their team and she wants to give them a chance and hear what they're doing and figure out their plans. This is all a scheme and a ploy of hers to save Jace, obviously. But in the process of doing that, we do get to see some interesting moments between her and Jonathan, who is technically her brother, and despite everything that's happened, everything that he's done, they do still share the same blood, and they are still brother and sister. So at moments, Jonathan does try to reach out to Clary in a brotherly way and try to rebuild the relationship between them. Clary obviously refuses all of this because given everything that Jonathan's done, you can't really go back from that. But there are a few moments where, you can, like, when Clary notices, how similar to Jocelyn he is, or how much he looks like her, or when she hears stories about him being tortured in Edom and being beaten by Valentine. I think there are a lot of moments where she does experience sympathy for him, at least in my opinion, because I feel like part of the reason why Jonathan is the way he is does have to do with the way he was raised. Jace was raised by Valentine too, but Jonathan, because he had demon blood in him, Valentine sent him to Edom to live with Lilith, through which he was tortured and beaten, and all of these mindsets, they were instilled from him. They were instilled in him because of the things he experienced as a child. Now, I'm not saying that makes everything he's done okay, or that automatically makes him a good person. I'm not saying that by any means, but what I am saying is that, most people, they don't become evil, they don't do bad things just because. It does happen because of stuff that has happened to them, or stuff that they've experienced. And so, as a reader, I did experience a bit of sympathy for Jonathan in the sense that, had Valentine not sentenced him to Edom, if he didn't have demon blood, if he wasn't tortured, would he still be the same person? Would Jonathan and Clary have grown up together? If Jocelyn had accepted him when he was a child, how would things be differently? So that's the question that I repeatedly asked myself throughout the story, because I did see a couple of moments where Jonathan was like, you can tell, like, in a way he does, he cares about Clary, and he's doing what he says he's doing for them, for their family, and, for their legacy. And, like, when you think about it, Clary is the only family that he has left. He doesn't really consider Jocelyn family, which you have to understand, because she did technically not, like, abandon him. That's a very sensitive subject, because, like, he had demon blood in him, and she thought he was dead. He thought she had just walked out on him. He thought, she hated him throughout his entire life. Jocelyn and Jonathan have their own dynamic of a relationship, and that's not something that I really want to get into a lot in this video, mainly because I don't really understand it. Also, I kind of feel like that story is going to come to a head in the final book as well, so maybe I'm going to save that until I do the Heavenly Fire review. But as for Clary and Jonathan's relationship, I like seeing those little moments of, despite him not trusting her, and despite her hating him for everything he's done, there are these moments where they kind of just, it's just them two in this bubble of, being raised by Valentine and having their father's legacy on their shoulders, and, like, not really knowing what to do about the fact that they're still brother and sister. Because that's the fact of the matter, Despite everything that Jonathan's done, despite how Clary feels about him, at the end of the day, they're still brother and sister. Obviously, some unique things happen at the end of the book, and I'm so excited to read the next book to see how that situation kind of resolves itself and how everything comes to light. But overall, I really enjoyed reading about the dynamic between Jonathan and Clary, and seeing how it affected her and how it affected him, and I'm so excited to see how that's going to continue into the next book. So I feel like in each book, there's always been a lot to say about the relationship between Clary and Jace. And that's not just, with them being a part of the supernatural world. And that's not just the things that they do because they're in this supernatural world. It's just because of their relationship and their love for each other, and how much they're willing to do to fight for each other and to protect each other. And I love how in this book, Clary was willing to risk absolutely everything, including her own life, to save Jace. Agreeing to go with Jace to somewhere she didn't know where she was going, and not knowing if she was going to come back, if she's going to be able to contact anyone. Clary and Simon, obviously they did have the Sealy rings and everything, but, like, that just seems sketchy. Like, as I was reading about that part, I was like, there's no way that's going to work. But anyway, you know, not knowing what's going to happen, but still wanting to do all this anyway to save the person that she loves, like, it's amazing to me, and I love how you can see the maturity of these characters, despite the fact that they're only like 15 and 16. In the show, I think they're like, Clary's 18 and Jason's probably like early 20s or something. But despite like the fact that in the book they're actually teenagers, and there's still that element of maturity and knowing that, you know, what they have isn't just puppy love, it's real love and it's gonna last. I absolutely love that, and I love the dynamic between these characters. Now, would I do it? Would I risk everything to save someone that I love? I don't know. I don't know if I ever really experienced love like that. My relationship history is complicated, and we're not going to talk about that. But the point is, you know, the Clary and Jace dynamic, they've just, throughout all 5 of these books, they've just been fighting for each other and fighting for their love and fighting their relationship. And Clary going against her own mom because of Jocelyn, you know, she's been skeptical about Clary and Jace's relationship because, you know, Jace is Valentine's son, and she looks at the way Clary loves Jace in the sense that she'd do anything for him and she's completely enamored with him. She looks at the way Clary feels about Jace and she automatically compares it to the way she felt about Valentine. Her greatest fear is Jace ending up to be just like his father and hurting Clary and devastating her the way the way Valentine devastated Jocelyn, because he took literally everything from her, and the last thing she wants is to have her daughter go through that. And like, I get it. I mean, I understand where Clary's coming from, but I do get Jocelyn's point. Like, she's trying to protect her. But at the end of the day, you know, Clary, she decides to do the things that she does, not as an act of typical teenage rebellion, not because she wants to get back at her mom, not because she's enamored with Jace. It's because they have such a strong connection that she knew that he could still be saved. And even if he couldn't, she literally said in the book that she was willing to die for him. And I feel like to have such strong feelings like that as a teenager, it just shows the essence of who these characters are and how mature they are. And I love how they were written out in this story as, you know, they're teenagers and they have all these teenage angst and everything, but they understand the world that they live in and they understand the consequences of their actions, but they're willing to go for that anyway for each other because they love each other. And I'm just swoon. Okay, so normally I do these Normally I try to film the review in chronological order of everything, the order of which stuff happened in the book. But I do want to talk about this really quickly. So one of my favorite scenes in this book, actually it's 2 scenes, but I'm kind of going to combine them into one because, like, I have a lot to say about them. So pretty much Jace ends up getting injured and the wound on his chest gets disfigured a little bit. And because of that, Jace does have this moment where he returns to his normal self, and when he does that, he tells Clary that he wants to go to the Silent Brothers and turn himself in and tell them about Sebastian's plan and what they want to do. And Clary lets him know that if he does that, the Silent Brothers might kill him. And Jake says he knows that, but he wants to do it anyway. Now, Clary doesn't want this to happen, and because of that, she calls Jonathan to fix the wound on Jace's chest so that he can't turn himself in. Now, I know a lot of people are going to get mad with me, especially because I just spent the last 5 minutes talking about how much I worship Clays and how on board I am with this relationship. So I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but I don't care. I feel like Clary was completely selfish in this scene. Okay, so these are one of those moments where I have to completely agree with Alec when I say that Clary does not know what it means to be a Shadowhunter, because I get, like, when you love someone, you want to protect them at all costs, but Jace was willing to make a choice to, risk himself to save the Shadow World, because Jonathan's plan, literally, he wanted to kill everyone. He wanted to kill the Claves. He wanted to kill Shadowhunters who weren't on his side. And Jace, in order to stop that, he was willing to sacrifice himself, and Clary did not let him do that. all because she loved him too much to see him die. Now, I completely understand where she's coming from, and I am kind of conflicted because, like, I understand her point of view, but at the same time, there's a greater part of me that feels like, you know, she robbed Jace of his choice. He was doing what he felt was right, and also he knew that once the rune fixed itself, he was not going to have this opportunity again. And the Jace that was back, the Jace that was himself again, he knew that he didn't want to go along with Jonathan's plan. And for Clary to take that choice away from him, to not let him make this huge sacrifice for the sake of the world, like, I feel like it's kind of selfish. Still love Clary and Jace at the end of the day, like, don't get me wrong, but I feel like when someone makes a choice, no matter how difficult of a choice it is for you to accept, you do not have the right to take that choice away from them. So I was obviously very upset about, you know, Clary, you know, being selfish and not allowing Jace to do this for her, to save the Shadow World. I feel like it was selfish of her, but then they have this scene towards at the end of the book, once, you know, the sword Glorious has been retrieved. Clary wants to use the sword to stab Jonathan, but Jace, he won't let her go, and he's trying to stop her. So Clary, at the very last minute, she decides to stab Jace instead. Now, when she does this, she perfectly understands that it might not work and it might kill him. But she also finally understands that this is what Jace would want. That, you know, the person who has this rune and who is working with Jonathan, that's not who he is, and that's not, you know, something that he wants to be a part of. And she understands that what she did in that scene in the apartment when he wanted to turn himself in, she understands that what she did, that was taking away his choice. That was taking away his decision, because in that moment, Jace is pretty much saying to her, like, I would rather be dead than to go along with any of this. I would rather the Silent Brothers kill me than to have any part in Jonathan's evil plan. And her, like, and once she realizes that, she obviously has this huge moment of regret because, you know, she took Jace's choices away. So her, like, being willing to stab him, like, some people might feel like it's like, how could she do that? How could she do that to someone that she loves? She's giving Jace what he would have wanted, and I firmly believe in that. I firmly believe that Jace, he would have rather died than to work with Jonathan, and she gave him his wishes. So great. Obviously, things ended up working out, and Jace didn't die, so that's great and everything. But the fact that she was willing to make such a huge sacrifice to give Jace what he would have wanted, it just goes back to, you know, where they stand in their relationship and understanding each other. And I can't. You know, I think Izzy's character development was one of my favorites in this book, and you know, a lot of that has to do with, you know, her feelings for Simon and how their friendship is slowly developing into more. So pretty much throughout the entire book series, she and Simon have sort of had this, you know, like, I feel like it didn't really become obvious until, like, the third book, between that situation between Simon, Izzy, and Maya. But now, like, when I was reading this book, I did go back to, like, the first book, and I was, like, looking back over some moments between Izzy and Simon, how she would, like, tell him how cute he was and stuff, and I never really thought anything of that. Sorry, I feel like the angle was messed up for a second, so I wanted to fix that. Anyway, as I was reading this story, I, like, looked back, and I noticed some moments throughout the book series where Izzy would just talk about how cute Simon was and stuff, and I was like, oh, that was interesting. So, like, reading this book and seeing how their, like, friendship is slowly turning into more, I think it's beautiful, and I love it. Like, those are my favorite relationships, when it happens with someone you least expect, like someone who you always think of, you used to think of, like, oh my goodness, he's just a friend, like, I never think of him that way, and then one morning you just wake up and you're like, oh, he's cute. Like, you guys know what I'm talking about? Anyway, like, so some of my favorite Simon and Izzy moments were, like, when, like, she, like, with the stuff she would be going through, and she'd be so upset and sad, like, with her not having Jace and not having him around, and also with her losing Max. everything that's going on in this, like everything that's happened in the last couple of books, it's just made Izzy so vulnerable, and it's forced a lot of her emotions to come out. And Simon has not just naturally been the person that she's been turning to. Like, she'd just be upset, and for some reason, like, the only thing that would calm her down is she would just call Simon and be like, "Will you hold me tonight while I sleep?" And I think those moments are so beautiful when, like, friendship slowly develops into more and you don't even see it happening. Like, I love how their relationship is turning out, and I love how everything's changing in the book for them, and I just can't wait to see how their relationship develops into the next story. And I feel like, with Simon being open to a relationship with Izzy, he's sort of been like, he hasn't really addressed his feelings on the subject, or about, like, what's really, how he felt about everything and how he feels about Izzy. And I think that has a lot to do with the situation with his mom, with her not accepting him. Like, that's taking up a lot of his attention and a lot of his mind. And so I feel like now that Simon's sister has been introduced in this book, and she does accept him, and she's let him know that to her he's no different and that she does still love him, I think he's going to be a lot more confident in himself, and he's going to start to feel better. Ergo, he's going to start opening up to Izzy more and more, and that's how their relationship is going to develop. Now, I don't really know this for sure. This is just like me putting out my opinion on the subject. That's just how I feel about it. Since we're talking about relationships, we might as well talk about Jordan and Maya, which is another one of my favorite relationships. I really feel like this book was like the champion of, like, happy relationships and happy relationship moments. Except for Malik, but we'll get to that in a minute. So as we all know, in the last book, Jordan and Maya, they shared this cat. They have a lot of history. Jordan and Maya haven't had an easy friendship or an easy situation to deal with. But after that kiss in the last book, Maya, she's like, in the beginning, she's kind of like not open to it, and she's avoiding the situation between Jordan and not wanting to deal with it. But throughout the book, they do grow closer, and eventually they decide to give their relationship another shot. And I just think it's beautiful. However, like, my gut instinct, I don't know how this is gonna play out. Like, I've seen the TV show, so I know how the Jordan and Maya situation ends. But in the TV show, they do change a lot of stuff, and they do, like, switch off from the books a lot. So I don't necessarily know what's gonna happen with Jordan and Maya in this book. But personally, I don't. Like, I just feel like something huge is coming up with Maya. She's a part of a New York wolf pack. And with Jordan working for the Predator Lupus, like, they send him, like, you go out on missions a lot. And so I feel like maybe he'll get sent away, and he can't be around Maya as much. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer or anything. Like, that's just my opinion. I do really like the relationship though, and I think they have a great connection, and I'm really excited to see how things pan out in the next book, in the final book, City of Heavenly Fire. I'm really excited to see how their relationship pans out there, and I also really love seeing how Jordan managed to bring the light back in Maya's eye, because with everything that she went through with her brother being abusive and, running away from her parents and turning into a werewolf and feeling like Jordan betrayed her, there's a lot of stuff going on in her head, and it has a lot to do with maybe why she's angry and a little closed off. Maybe Jordan will be the person to help her deal with the stuff she's been going through and help her figure out how to handle, just how to help her properly confront her past, because I don't really feel like she's done that a lot. The moment she turned into a werewolf, she just ran away from home. I don't really feel like she's properly acknowledged and addressed the things that have happened in her past. And I hope that she and Jordan will have some serious heart-to-heart conversations about the things that happened in their past and the things that led to, with him biting her and everything. I hope they'll actually sit down and have a conversation about everything that's happened, because I do feel like a lot of their relationship in this story has been very sexual. Like, they've been being very physically intimate, but there hasn't been a lot of, like, every time they start having a conversation, they end up just, like, having sex and stuff. And, obviously that's fun, but I feel like it's important to sit down and have these serious conversations, especially when certain things have happened that have completely changed your relationship with each other. They have a lot to do with how you felt about each other for, in the past, like, with them being back together, obviously that's all great and dandy, but that doesn't just change the fact that, they felt the way they felt about the situation. So I'm really hoping in the final book we'll see them address their past and see Maya address her past personally. And I want them to figure out everything that's happened. I want them to figure out a way to move past this, because I genuinely feel like unless they sit down and actually talk about it, they're not going to be able to fully move past that. So that's what I'm hoping for. Okay, so it's time to do it. It's time to talk about Malik, and I kind of don't really want to talk about this, so I'm devastated. I hate where Magnus and Alec are in their relationship right now, and I'm crazy obsessed with this relationship, and obviously I know they're gonna work it out and everything's gonna be fine, but like having them be in this space where they're like technically not together anymore, like I don't even want to talk about it. Like there's a serious possibility I might start crying while discussing this, but fingers crossed. So Alec is dealing with a lot of insecurities about his relationship with Magnus and Magnus's past with Camille, and his past that he still refuses to talk about and doesn't really want to address a lot with Magnus. So in the beginning of the book, Alec actually ends up having a secret meeting with Camille in which she reveals to him that Alec and Magnus can find a way to be together forever. That's been one of Alec's huge insecurities about their relationship. The understanding that, one day he's going to die and Magnus is going to be all alone, and not wanting to, I feel like he kind of feels like he's just another passing phase for Magnus, and that maybe part of him doesn't really truly love him because he knows that Alec's going to die one day. He might feel like for Magnus, their relationship is, for all intents and purposes, only temporarily, because at the end of the day, with Magnus being immortal and Alec not being immortal, we all know how this ends. So when Camille offers Alec the opportunity to take away Magnus's immortality, he does initially say yes, and my opinion on that, I don't know, I'm kind of back and forth. I do agree with Magnus in the sense that, he's trying to change who he is. He doesn't fully accept him for himself and who he is, and so I do understand why Magnus was angry about this, but at the same time I kind of feel like this entire situation could have been avoided if only Magnus and Alec were willing to talk to each other. Literally, if they would have just sat down and had an open, honest conversation about how they were feeling and about where their relationship was heading, and openly addressed the mortality thing in their relationship, and if Magnus was willing to talk to Alec more about his past and not be so closed off to it, and if they just were more open and honest in communicating with each other, Alec, I strongly believe, would have never considered Camille's offer in the first place. So yeah, I do understand why Magnus is angry, but at the same time, it's not like he's completely innocent in this situation either. Magnus and Alec have both been making a couple bad decisions in their relationship. Again, just my opinion. I feel like this situation could have been completely avoided if they would have just talked to each other, which I could not, for the life of me, get over. As I was reading this book, I found myself shouting as I was reading. I was just talk to him. You guys just need to talk about this. And so, yeah, I truly feel like in the next book, as long as they sit down and have an honest conversation about how they're feeling, everything's going to work itself out. And obviously everything is going to work out because, they're Malik. You can't keep them apart forever. That's blasphemy. I did enjoy seeing the hard parts of their relationship as well, though. As much as these moments saddened me as a huge Malik shipper, I was really happy that the author chose to show the difficult parts of being in a relationship as well, in the sense that sometimes communication isn't really an easy thing to do, and being honest with someone isn't really something that you can, it's not something that always comes easy. And I love the fact that this wasn't one of those books where it was just oh, this person meets this person and they fall in love and they live happily ever after without any problems. I like that it wasn't that. And we do get to see this difficult part of being in their relationship as they try to overcome these obstacles between them. And like, even though I do know what's going to happen, even without it, I'm so optimistic about the future of this relationship because I feel like Magnus and Alec, like, the things that make them different with Magnus being immortal and Alec not, and Alec being a shadow hunter, and Magnus, you know, he's a warlock. I feel like these differences are the things that are going to bring them closer together. I don't really know in what ways, so I'm really excited to read the book for that reason as well. But I like the fact that not everything was just perfect. Like, we got to see these obstacles in their relationship, and we got to see them go through these difficult triumphs and everything that they have to deal with. So I'm really, really excited to read about Malik and City of Heavenly Fire. And now it is finally time for the final book, City of Heavenly Fire, and I am so excited. Guys, literally everything has led to this moment, from Clary discovering she was a shadow hunter, meeting Jace, Alec, and Izzy, thinking Jace was her brother, Valentine trying to kidnap her and Jace, Jocelyn, she put a spell on herself to fall asleep, and then she woke back up, and Jonathan came along and he possessed Sebastian. He started a war in Alicante. He bound himself to Jace. He tried to trick Claire. He tried to trick everyone. He killed Max. The entire Lightwood family is out for blood. They are out for revenge. And so much stuff has happened in the last 5 books, and it is finally coming to a head in City of Heavenly Fire. Literally the very last page of this book, Jonathan sending a message to Maris at the Institute, pretty much saying he's coming and that they need to get ready. It's on. It is so on. I am so pumped about reading this book. I'm so proud of myself about reading all of these books. I can't believe it's over, but that being said, I need you guys to, help me figure out what to read next, because I want to keep this going. I said it in the last book, I'm saying it again. Please recommend a book. Please recommend books that you feel like I need to read next. I don't think I'll be doing them right after I finish this book series. I might take a break because I have been reading literally every day for the last 2.5 months. I think I'm going to give myself a little bit of a break. But I do really love making these book reviews. I love the fact that I finally got back into reading. Literally, this is the first time I've read a book since high school. And I graduated 5 years ago. So excited about, I finally realized how much I love reading, and I want to keep doing it, and I want to keep you guys a part of it. So please recommend books that you want me to read next. You can recommend them in the comment section, or if you want, you can follow me on social media. All of that will be in the description as well. But that being said, I'm out of here. So thank you so much for watching this video. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you push that notification bell, you'll be notified every time I post a video. Thank you so much for all your love and support. It means the world to me. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.